Conversation with two of them when I checked in on them just now. I deeply appreciate their service and let them know that their city stands with them, and I very much look forward to their recovery. My heart goes out to the officers' families who tonight got the phone call or the knock on the door that they dread every day that their loved ones go on duty. Just this weekend, I joined the LAPD for an event designed to take guns off of our streets. It is worth repeating that we must do much, much more to protect our officers and protect our communities. I ask all Angelenos to hold these officers and their families in their hearts tonight. Thank you.
Good evening. Thank you, Mayor. I'm Al Labrada, Assistant Chief of LAPD. First and foremost, on behalf of Chief Michael Moore, thank you for all the prayers and continued calls for support of the officers, the three officers that are now listed in stable condition. So a brief update on what occurred this afternoon. Earlier this afternoon, officers of Hollenbeck Division received a call to an area of 3800 block of Broadway. The officers responded to the area and conducted a search for investigation of a parolee at large. During the subsequent investigation, officers came across the individual who refused to comply to the commands, and a request for K-9 officers was requested from Metropolitan Division. During the subsequent search, officers encountered the individual and utilized some gas to try to get compliance from the individual. Again, the suspect refused. At one point during the search, the suspect exited and fired at the officers, wounding three officers who are now listed in stable condition here just behind me. Again, we're grateful for the continued calls by the community and those supporting our community. As the mayor mentioned, the tragedy of the dangers that some of these officers face is what we face today, and we're hopeful that this tragedy will not continue to repeat itself. As of 20 minutes ago, we were notified that the individual was taken into custody without further incident. We're thankful to the community that supported the large perimeter, the response of the officers, and more importantly for the patience that was demonstrated by our residents in the area. Thank you.
Can you tell us the conditions of the officers? I know the mayor said that she was able to speak to two. Are they undergoing surgery? How many times were they shot?
So I won't go into details of the specific injuries, but the officers are in stable condition. All three of them are speaking, and all of them have their families here as well. So I'm happy to report that they are in stable condition, and potentially they may be released, but we're still doing more evaluations. The medical staff is doing additional evaluation of the officers.
By gunfire?
Yes.
And did they exchange gunfire?
That's part of the investigation. Our Force Investigation Division is here to conduct the investigation relative to an officer-involved shooting, as well as our Robbery Homicide Division, who will investigate the aspect of the crime against the officers.
Is the suspect still alive?
I don't have the details from the scene. We were dealing with the officers' families, and I know they'll be providing additional details at the scene of the tactical operation shortly as well.
So you don't know if any of them opened fire, returned fire?
We do have officers that return fire, and the subject of that investigation with FID as to how many return fire, the number of rounds, is part of the investigation at this point.
Can you tell us about the officers, male, female, how long they've been on the force?
I don't have the details of their specific time, but they are three male officers, and again, we're grateful they're in stable condition at this time.
I mean, have they been on the force for a long time?
They're senior officers assigned to our Metropolitan Division.
Chief, was one a K-9 officer?
All three of the officers are K-9 officers assigned to Metropolitan
How
Division.
about their dogs?
How are the
Are their
dogs
dogs
doing?
okay?
Yes.
All of the dogs are okay?
Yes.
And then you said a parolee at large. Can you elaborate on the call? Was there a search warrant out for this person?
I don't have the details of the specific information the officers received. We did receive information that they were looking for parolee at large during the initial investigation.
What can you tell us about the suspect? Age, where's he from?
I don't have the details, but as soon as we're able to provide that information, we will provide it as part of the investigation.
Have you responded to that house before? Any prior calls?
Again, we don't have the details. Potentially we have, but that's something that'll have to be reviewed as part of the ongoing investigation.
Do you know how far from the initial call it was to where he was at?
I do not know. I apologize.
Not the same location?
No.
And one officer was taken by ambulance and two by ground transport?
I do not know the details of the transport. I know that all three were brought here to County USCMC.
Can you talk a little bit about, I know that sometimes people say, you know, these routine officer responses, nothing is routine in your guys' job. Now obviously this turned out to be something that was pretty extreme.
Correct. As I think I mentioned, this incident started about 3:50 this afternoon, so it shows the level of patience and more importantly, the officers taking their time to try to de-escalate this and more importantly, resolve this peacefully. And unfortunately, behavior of this individual did not result in that. A very deadly situation. We're grateful residents were not injured as part of this, and we're grateful the officers are going to be okay. Fire.
Good evening, Jacob Robbie, LAFD, Captain PIO. At 6:37 p.m., the LAFD responded to the intersection requested by LAPD of North Broadway and Mission Road for a report of a shooting, with officers down and a barricaded suspect. We arrived on scene. We did find 3 officers down. The LAPD officers were assisting the other officers coming to our rescues. We had 2 paramedic ambulances on scene. There were 3 patients. 2 were taken in one ambulance. The other was taken in the other, all by LAFD, to the hospital behind you here, to the trauma center for evaluation. They were alert and oriented when we were transporting them. They are in stable condition, as everyone else mentioned at this time. And they did all have gunshot wounds. They're all suffering from various gunshot wounds. Again, had a rapid extraction, got them here, and they were talking to us. That's all I have at this time.
See if Councilman De Leon would like to say something.
First of all, I want to thank Madam Mayor Karen Bass for her leadership, for coming here to County USC Medical Center to visit and to actually speak with the 3 officers who were injured and shot by this parolee today. Today has been a very busy day for LAPD. As you may know, earlier this morning in the neighboring city of Alhambra, there was a SWAT operation where they captured the suspect who presumably had killed young Javier Chavedin, 17-year-old, last week Friday. Obviously today, Metro Division has been very, very busy. We're thrilled, we're more than happy. This happened in City 14 in Lincoln Heights, that the suspect has been apprehended. Thank God that the 3 officers are out of danger. And once again, I want to thank the men and women of LAPD, but especially Mayor Karen Bass for her strong leadership, for being here today with our officers. Thank you very much.
Mayor Bass, I missed the very beginning. I don't know if you already sent a message to the families and also to, their colleagues. What would be your message to the LAPD?
Well, I did speak with 2 of the officers. I haven't had an opportunity to speak with the families yet, but our crisis response team is here to provide the families with whatever support that they need. But my message to them is that we stand with them, is that our prayers, our hearts go out to them for their speedy recovery and also for the trauma that their families are facing right now. And we know that officers every day, when they go to work, that their families are left in fear, hoping that they won't get the phone call that these 3 families got tonight.
How do they seem to be doing emotionally from their families?
Oh, the 2 officers that I talked to are strong. Strong. The questions that they asked me was about their colleagues that were still out there looking for the suspect. So, like you would expect, they weren't concerned about themselves. They were concerned about their colleagues that they knew were still out in the field.
It must have been something to see you come in and talk to them now, to see the mayor come into the room and at this moment. So.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I think that it was just important for me to be here. This is a place that's familiar to me. I used to work here in the emergency room in trauma. And so to go back to the emergency room now to try to bring comfort and support to officers was something that was very important and meaningful to me. Thank you. Thank you.
I can provide a Spanish piece if you're ready. When you're ready.
Okay, you have heard from Assistant Chief Alfred Labrada from the LA Police Department, along with Mayor Karen Bass and a representative of LA City Fire. Not a lot of detail about what exactly happened. We got kind of some of the general idea of what has happened, and it's kind of coincides with what we've been reporting. This afternoon, officers got a call of a parolee at large. They were trying to get that person into custody. And they had a lot of trouble doing that. Some Metro officers responded, 3 of them, 3 canine officers from the LAPD's Metro Division responded, and those 3 officers came under fire from that suspect. The exact circumstances we do not yet know, the exact positions, locations of where this all happened. We do not yet know. Some of those details will be fleshed out later. We do know that all 3 officers are in stable condition. They were alert and communicating when they were transported by the LA City Fire Department, 2 of them in one ambulance, 1 of them in another, to LA County USC Medical Center. The mayor spoke with 2 of the officers tonight. She said, in her words, they are strong, and she praised their selflessness in that they were more concerned about their colleagues who were out, they presume, looking for the suspect and trying to apprehend him than they were about their own conditions. They asked her about how their colleagues were doing. Councilman Kevin De Leon, embattled LA City Councilman Kevin De Leon, is also there. You see him at the microphone now. He's speaking in the Spanish portion of the briefing. He also praising the officers and saying it's been a very busy day for them. Again, 3 officers in stable condition, and the suspect has, according to Assistant Chief Labrada, is in custody, was taken into custody without further incident. We don't know the suspect's condition. We don't know whether, in fact, the suspect was hit by gunfire. There was no discussion of that. There's a lot that we don't know yet. It is 9:20 in the evening. We are hoping that sometime between now and the time that we go on air at 11 p.m., we'll have some of those answers for you. But we do know the best news here is that those 3 officers, although wounded, will recover and are being treated here at LA County USC Medical Center. They are canine officers. Their dogs were not in any way wounded or injured, and the investigations will continue. A use of force investigation on how the officers responded in terms of returning fire with that suspect, and robbery homicide will investigate the actual crime itself, the assault on those 3 officers. This briefing looks like is continuing. It is continuing in Spanish, and that is all we pretty much have at this point. 3 male officers. We don't know their ages, how long they've been on the department, any of that sort of information. Certainly not their names. We do know their families are with them. They are communicating, and they are being treated at LA County USC, which is a level 1 trauma center. We are hearing that another press conference will be taking place at the command post, which is at Lincoln Park. We expect that to happen fairly soon, and when that happens, we'll bring that to you as well. Until then, I'm Mark Brown, ABC 7 Eyewitness News. We'll be back.